I really didn't want to make a Knicks related video a second time in a row because I usually just want to discuss something different every video. But Mikal Bridges' play recently leaves me no choice but to talk about the Knicks once again, mainly Mikal Bridges, as I mentioned. From an overall team perspective, the Knicks have been really good this season. Outside of like a nasty 2-9 stretch back in January, they've been really good. They do have their issues, but I feel like the viewing experience of this season has been better than last season, just watching his team overall on both ends of the floor. But one thing continues to be painful to watch on a night to night basis for this Knicks team over the last two seasons, and it's been Mikal Bridges. And I remember last season, I don't know if it was like before Christmas time or around there, I just really saw some red flags in his play, and I was like, man, this guy might be an issue for this team. And a lot of people during that time period like came at me for having that opinion. It wasn't like harsh or anything, but it was like, criticism about what I was saying and all that. And you know what? I felt like I was right because overall last season I didn't think he had a great year. And now this season, here we are, and it's pretty much like the same experience. Mikal, the guy the Knicks traded for 5 first round picks and a first round swap back in June of 2024. That guy. That guy has been a problem for this team basically for the last two seasons, whether you want to hear it or not. It's been rough. But his most recent stretch of play is by far the worst it's ever been as a New York Knick. Since his great game versus San Antonio, in which he had 25 points on March 1st, this man is averaging 8 points per game on disgusting shooting splits, and even worse, there's no like legitimate effort to snap out of it on the offensive end. He's shooting 9 shots per game since March 2nd, which is ridiculous. And I feel like that's like a lot of people's main issues with Mikal Bridges if you're a fan of the Knicks and you have issues with him. I feel like that's the main one. It's the lack of aggression to want to have any true impact or like any stamp on the game, especially on the offensive end. The man is averaging his lowest amount of shots per game since the 2021-22 season when he was on Phoenix. And like in a vacuum, I always say this, is Mikal Bridges a bad basketball player? No. But when you factor in the expectations when you traded for him to be like a consistent third option for this team, a secondary ball handler, a guy that you can go to when Brunson's off and just be like, hey, look, Karl Anthony Towns isn't getting no on ball reps. So, Mikal, do your job. Take these on ball responsibilities, and if Brunson's off, let's take us home. Let's get us into something. Let's get some type of flow. Let's get some buckets. Something. But he just can't do that. It's not a possibility for him. The fact that Bridges is on pace to finish the season with a lower amount of free throw attempts than he did last season, which he got criticized for, is insane. He is sitting at 84 free throws, and we are almost in April. I understand roles might play a factor when the team's healthy and he isn't going to get like 20 shots a night. I understand. I'm not dumb. But that all gets thrown out the window, for example, in a game where they played Indiana in Indiana. Karl Anthony Towns was out. Josh Hart was out. That's two starters not available. And you have 11 points on 9 shots. It's unacceptable, in my opinion. Although I will say, I'll give him his flowers in this department. I think defensively he has been more impactful this season for sure. He's kind of been in the right situations. I think last season they had him on the point of attack way too much for my liking. And I understand he does have, those responsibilities this season as well, but it's a little less often. Sometimes he's playing off the ball, getting in the passing lanes, being disruptive. That's good. But, offensively, it's gotten to the point where he's so bad. Like, he's not even closing games over Landry Shamet. And credit to Landry Shamet, who's had a pretty good year despite being on a veteran minimum contract. But he's not getting playing time over Landry Shamet. Like, think about that. And this is with Deuce McBride out. And imagine if he was healthy. Imagine. Like, who knows what would happen right now? This man hasn't played 30. He's only played 30 minutes once in, like, the last 5 games. And the minutes just continue to get lower. At this point, I've just lowered my expectations for him in general. Because, to me, he's like their fourth option. OG Anunoby's ahead of him in the pecking order. Which in a way is sad because there's more shot creation and wiggle in Mikal's game than OG, but the aggressiveness just ain't nearly the same. Now, since I said this, I'm pretty sure Mikal will have a great game versus Indiana tonight, especially with no Brunson, because that's how it always goes. But I'm going to stand 10 toes down. My point still stands. In the bigger picture, the Knicks have no chance of winning or making an NBA Finals if Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart are going to provide liabilities in the starting five. It's just not going to happen. And Bridges needs to get with the program fast because at least his issues are like fixable. He just needs to get aggressive. Hart has the shooting issues, which will probably never get fixed because teams are never going to respect him the way that, quote unquote, a guy shooting in the high 30s would get respect. But like I said, Bridges, he can turn it around. He has shown before that he is capable of having good games. He has shown, especially even in the playoffs, that he's had some good games. I also don't want to hear about his couple playoff moments last season because that's what I'm referring to when I said he's shown in the playoffs he can do things. I don't want to hear about that because I feel like he gets a lot of credit for that, which is deserved. He's had some great moments. He had a couple great moments. He had some big quarters. I understand that. But for about 95% of that run, he was the same old Mikal Bridges that he's been since he's been a New York Knick, which is like very non-aggressive, passive aggressive, whatever you want to call it, just doing his own thing, chucking up like maybe 12 shots a game, sitting around that area. And I think he needs to get it together because if he can't get it together and he's going to continue to be this like 13 point per game guy, 14 point per game guy, and not be a help when nights where Jalen Brunson isn't, Jalen Brunson all the time, and sometimes he may struggle, especially with the team that, they've brought in some ball handlers to try to, fix the issue that they had last season, but Mikal Bridges is supposed to be one of those guys, and right now I don't have him in my circle of trust to be able to be like, look, if Brunson's off, let's take us home. I just don't trust him. And I feel like that was like the main point of the trade was to get a guy that can give you 25 on any given night if Brunson's off and pick up the slack, and he just hasn't shown that, and he's going to need to show that he can do it, especially come playoff time, because they're going to need him in these matchups if they get to the second round against Boston or if they get further and, God willing. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Mikal Bridges, step your game up, buddy. That's all I got to say. Anyways, that's going to do it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been a checkup, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.